traders, welcome to another video on the volume profile. So this was a Patreon suggested video where I had one of my patrons direct message me about following up on stop loss hunting using the volume profile. So what we're going to be looking at today is how can we use the volume profile to screen for where many limit orders will be and for screening where many stop orders will be. So just to start off with a bit of a recap on the volume profile and in relation to order placement, remember that the volume profile is also known as volume by price. Typically you're going to see volume by time, and volume by time is just going to look like this. As you can see, just this gray thing down here. This is what you normally see as volume. But what we're going to be talking about today is the volume profile, which instead of using the x-axis to display volume, it uses the y-axis to display volume horizontally. So what this can do is give us price areas that contain a lot of volume and price areas that do not contain a lot of volume. So that goes to the second point that I put here, the break-even principle in high volume nodes. So break-even, typically when we see a large concentration of volume at a single price level, we know that if price was to return to that price level, then price may stall at that price level or find resistance or support. So if we have an HVN, so we have a lot of volume transacted, let's say at 7,000, then price goes down, and then price goes back up to 7,000, I'm expecting that price may have to consolidate at 7,000 before moving higher, or price may go up to that HVN at 7,000 and then go lower. And the reason because of that is because of break even. There are many traders who are probably going to be buying because hence the spike in the volume profile. If there's a ton of volume at 7K and then price goes down, that means many transactions had occurred at 7K. With every transaction, there's a buyer and there's a seller. So that means that there's likely a lot of buyers at 7,000 who, and this is a hypothetical, of course. In this hypothetical, there are going to be a lot of buyers at 7,000. And what do those buyers do? Do they want to sell at a loss? No. They want to sell at break even or at a slight profit. So what's going to happen is when price goes back up to that area, those traders are going to be happy. They're going to be fighting over each other to sell so that they don't lose any money. So that's one way we can use the volume profile to screen for high volume nodes and to look for high volume areas that are going to give a barrier to price. Now, low volume areas are really going to be more of the focus today because that's where we're going to be seeing more stop loss hunts and talking more about stops. So a low volume area allows little barrier to price because if price has not spent a lot of time, has not been in a price range for a long period of time, then I'm not really expecting that many limit orders are going to be there, because if there weren't that many transactions in the near past, then I'm not expecting really any traders to have any positions that started there or that exited there. So I'm not really thinking that there's going to be much break-even trading happening. However, let's say prices never reached 8,000 and a lot of traders just put a limit sell order at 8,000 because it sounds good. That's something different. That's, round numbers, psychological numbers. But in essence, the less time that price has spent trading at, the less time in the future it typically will trade at. So what this all comes to, and if you want more of a simpler approach to the volume profile, typically limit orders are going to be placed around HVNs, which is going to mean a barrier to price. Stop loss orders and stop orders are going to typically be placed around LVNs or just beyond an HVN. All right, so now let's get into the many examples that I've attached and start to do some learning. So what we have here is TRX BTC on the 4-hour. I put this altcoin on the 4-hour chart because I wanted to get as much information as I could in this 2-month period, about maybe 2.5 months here. So what I want to focus on here is two price areas. We have an HVN, you can clearly see here, lots of volume being transacted right here. Not surprising. We have a lot of transactions occurring here. So I know that there may be many active traders who had transacted here. However, look at this. This volume compared to this volume, this looks like an entire LVN area. It's not in the value area, the VA. The value area is bright. Non-value area is going to be dark, like this, or kind of opaque. And you can see we just don't have a lot of volume being transacted. So what does that mean? If price is able to begin to come here, it's likely going to hit many stop losses. It's also likely not going to have this price here is probably not going to act as a large barrier to price. So if price begins to trade here, I'm not expecting that there are going to be many limit sell orders that are just going to push price back down. So here's what ended up happening. So this was the LVN area that I had highlighted before, as you can see. And price went right up. High momentum just burst right up there. Not that surprising. You know, I'm not seeing a lot of volume being traded here, so I'm not expecting a large amount of price having an issue to go up here. So price does go up there, and then we actually see a stop loss hunt, or more of a shakeout, where we tempt longs to buy at the worst possible price here, and then price goes lower. And then that HVN that I had drawn before, we see a little bit of a touch here. Look at that price at around 610, which was, you know, around the top here. And then we see price go up. It reacts to that HVN, it goes up, and then it goes back down here, consolidates for a bit, and then continues to move down. But of course, the more important part and the focus of this video is the LVN and looking at that stop loss hunt that happened there. What can we learn from this example? Well, what we can learn from this example is that there really wasn't a lot of volume being traded in this downward price range. Look, not a lot of volume compared to here, compared to here, compared to here, compared to here. Not a lot of volume. So when we see not a lot of volume, we're not expecting much barrier to price when price begins to move in that direction. That does not mean the price is going to move in that direction. That means that if price begins to move in this direction, I'm not expecting many limit sell orders to continue to push price down. All right, so now let's go into another example. This time we have to the dollar instead of to Bitcoin. So let's look at FUSD on Bitfinex. Here we have the 1 hour, about 1 month trading range. And here I used the fixed range volume profile. Here I used the visible range volume profile. So this just gets all the information on the chart. But the fixed range I selected from, I think I selected from here to here. And that's what this information is showing. What do we see? Well, price is here. I'm seeing a ton of volume being traded here, as you can see right there, and a good amount of volume being traded here. This seems to be a high volume range. What do I see down here? I'm not seeing really any volume being traded here at all. It seems like very few traders actually had transacted here, which likely means that when price was rising, maybe there weren't that many limit sell orders, so price had an easy time rising. Potentially Bitcoin was moving up, and Ethereum moved up as well. So what we expect here? Well, if we didn't have much, a really heavy amount of buying, then I'm not expecting this price range to be anything special or to find any major support. So here's what ended up happening. But first, before I show the example, do you think that A, price is going to move up to the value area here and have some resistance? Or B, do you think that the price is going to hit the stop loss hunts? Because I indicated here, this is the local low. So this low has not been bypassed. Here, nope, has not been crossed. Still, when price is here, this low has not been crossed. So any stop losses that are just below here have not been touched by this point. So do we think that a stop loss hunt is going to happen? Or do we think that we're going to see Ethereum move up? So I'll give you guys a few seconds with this one. Okay, so I think I made this one a little bit obvious, but price does go down, and we do see a stop loss hunt. We actually see, we see one stop loss hunt here. So price went down to here, and that's where I took the screenshot. Price went down right there, just below this low, and triggered many stops, as you can see, very rapidly, and then price went right back up. So one thing you may be wondering is, how do I know how far down price is going to go in an LVN area when a stop loss hunt's occurring? I mean, we're never going to know exactly, it's going to do this or it's going to do that. Typically, price likes to move until it hits a major HVN. Here we kind of see that. We had this HVN here, and price does go right down and then stops at that HVN. Boom, right there. That's one place where it does occur, but a much easier way to trade with the volume profile, if you want to trade stop loss hunts, is you could wait for a stop loss hunt to occur. So something like this. And then if you see a very bullish reversal or you see a bullish price pattern, that's when you could think about entering. So a V-shaped reversal is typically going to be very bullish. A standard V, not an upside down V, where you get price goes down and then immediately cuts back up. Typically that's a good sign for the bulls, and price actually did continue to move upward. But you could have maybe bought here after you recognize this kind of pattern in the volume profile. Okay, so here's another pattern that shows a very similar situation to that Ethereum example we were just talking about. So this is Zcash to Bitcoin on Binance. And what we have here is just the same kind of thing, a 1 hour looked over 1 month of trading. So take a look at the major HVNs. We have this right here, that HVN in yellow, and we have that HVN right there, and that's active right there, and this one is active right here. However, we can see that this horizontal line that I drew is the lowest point that price has reached. So price made a tail down to here, and since price has not gone below that, are we seeing a lot of volume being traded at these bottoms? Not really. It seems like very, 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 very little volume is actually being traded at all at these bottoms. It seems like a large amount of volume is being traded up here. What does that tell me? Well, that tells me that there may be more orders. There may be more order clusters above back in this consolidation range, but there may be more stop losses. There may be more stop sell orders down here. I'm not really expecting too many traders to be putting limit buy orders around here. Not really. And of course, I'm not expecting any trader to put a limit sell order because they could just sell here if they wanted to sell. So this is going to contain a lot of stops, a lot of sell stops. And this is what happened. Price just cut right through the LVN. Now, this one's a bit different. Is this a stop loss hunt or is this a genuine downtrend? That's what's going to be this example. And I'm going to give you guys 3 seconds for this one. Yeah, this is not a stop loss hunt. This was, at the time, a genuine downtrend. Price began here. Price went much lower on Zcash to Bitcoin. Yeah, we had a large amount of liquidity here, and yeah, we had a lot of stops here. We had a lot of limit orders up here. That's all fine. That's all true. But the way in which price went down is showing me that there's a large amount of sellers who want to sell. And that just continued to sell down. So another point that I'm making here is just because you see these kinds of patterns where we have an LVN down here, price might go down and then cut right back in. We have a beautiful stop loss pattern and we can buy there and make that money as price goes higher until it hits an HVN here. That does work, but it may be best to wait for confirmation. Placing a suicidal limit bid buy order here, I don't know if that would have been great, but 2020 hindsight, of course, can only do so much. But potentially it might be better to wait for that V-shaped reversal back into the trading range, as is typically told to most traders to wait for confirmation. So that's what happened to Zcash on Bitcoin. Now I wanted to pivot a bit and go a lot more zoomed out and talk about Bitcoin on the daily and using these same kind of LVN patterns to find where stop loss hunts may occur. So price at this many traders probably know what happened here, but if you don't know what happened, then this could be actually a pretty good example to look at. Price was here at 76.15. We have two price areas where price is either going to go. It's not going to go sideways forever, even though sometimes seems like that. We're either going to go a little bit higher at this point in time in June, and we're going to begin to touch this HVN. We have a large amount of volume being traded there. We have volume traded there. A large amount of volume being traded here and right above. We have very little volume being traded down here. Very little. I'm not expecting many limit orders to be located around here. I am expecting many stops, meaning I'm expecting price to cut right through that price range. What's going to happen here? Well, 3, 2. Price went down, triggered the stop losses, as you can see down here. Went right down to about, I think it was 57 something, 57.50 on Bitfinex or something like that. It went right below this low. It went right below this low. Went right below this LVN, cut through it, and right there, and cut through it here, and then reversed back up. So this was a genuine stop loss hunt, and the way to enter this after looking at the volume profile may have been to wait until price goes below the volume profile and cuts through the LVN at the very bottom. And then after you wait, you could wait for price to go right back into the trading range and then think about entering once that happens around here-ish. And that would have worked out well. All right, so now let's take a look at XBT USD, BitMEX. This is the 1 hour over a period of about a month. And what we're looking at here are, we see a series of HVNs, but where do we see a very large lack of volume occurring? This is a similar pattern to what we've looked at in the past, so that will be a hint. So price is here at the time. Is price going to consolidate, continue to consolidate, then move up? Is price going to continue to consolidate, then move down? Is price going to just jerk up? Is price just going to jerk right down? What do you guys think is going to occur based on this kind of shape? So price ended up just continuing to consolidate, and I'm going to flip back to this volume profile here. We're on the July 6th, as you can see, so that was here. We're about here. Price continued to consolidate, and then it moved right above this local high here. So just above that high, just above that high, and just above that high, in this kind of box that I have here, we have very, very little volume being transacted here. Why do we have very little volume being transacted here? Likely because we have a price tail here. We have a price tail here. We have a price tail here. And not many traders had really transacted there. So because not many traders had transacted there, does that mean that price is going to go there? No. What does that mean? That means that if price goes near this price area, so when price goes to about here, let me show it. When price begins to come to about here, it's likely going to accelerate and go right above the high because there aren't that many limit orders. I know we're making the assumption that there aren't many limit orders in an LVN area, and we're making the assumption that there are many stop orders in an LVN area and many limit orders in an HVN area. We have to assume something's in the market, and that is a decent assumption to make a large majority of the time. However, you always want to wait for confirmation, and you would have gotten the confirmation here. After we slice through that LVN and we slice through this HVN here and just make that price tail, this would have been a great confirmation, and this as well, to begin thinking about shorting. We've triggered liquidity above the volume profile. We've triggered liquidity in the low volume node area. So this could be a price spot where many sellers could be entering. So this would have been a really good spot to short. So that's going to do it for the examples with the volume profile. So just a quick recap to talk about stop loss hunting using the volume profile. How do we do that? So prices just beyond an HVN of a volume profile may have stop losses as traders place stops just above resistance and just below support. So we can see a bit of that here. Right above there, we have an LVN. Right above this HVN, we have an LVN. It's right in between, or sometimes just right above an HVN, or just right below an HVN. I'm thinking many stop losses were likely here as well. That's where you're going to be finding those stop losses and an acceleration of price and high volatility. And if we look back at other examples here, we can see such as, the Ethereum examples, good as well. We had really not much volume being transacted here, so we know that when price does come down here, that we're going to get that high volatility market reaction. Also, price consolidating in the trading range, LVN areas may contain stop losses. That is basically what we've talked about before. It's great when price just consolidates flat, and then you can identify the low volume nodes, the places where not a lot of volume has been transacted in a consolidation range, typically just above resistance, typically just below support of the consolidation range. And if price goes right down, makes that type of V-shaped reversal, triggers stop losses, and then goes right back up, that can be very bullish. Or, as in this example, price goes right up and then goes right down in a upside down V-shaped reversal, and then that can be very bearish, as you can see here. And we actually just had that occur right here. As you can see, price was consolidating, went down, and then went up and began the uptrend. And that's happening, and that's going to continue to happen time and time again. Sort of a formation here, consolidating, price goes up, fakes out traders, goes down. Price fakes out very few traders here by going to resistance and then goes down. How would we know how to deal with this? Well, we would draw our volume profile. So we would go to, you do need TradingView Pro for this. You'd go to either use visible range or you would use fixed range. And when we go to, so that is the VPVR, as you can see. And if we go back in time before all this shenanigans happened down there, if we just go and use that volume profile, let me hide like that. You can pretty much, I think, really clearly see it here. We have a large amount of, well, they're kind of shifted. That's the issue with using the visible range instead of the fixed range. Here we have a spike in the volume profile, so we know that anything below this may contain many stop losses, right below here, about 63.22. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. Let me show that one more time, because it may not have been clear. Let's go a little bit further back. You can see here that it's at 63.20, about 63.22. We have a spike in the volume profile, a lot of volume being transacted there. That's an HVN. So what happened was when price went down to it, it formed support, as you can see here. And then after that support was broken, there weren't many limit buy orders left, not many limit buys, a lot of stop sell orders, meaning long stop losses, and price tanked. Went right below all of this volume, went right below into the LVN area, triggered liquidity, and then moved right back up. And here we are. So yeah, just another example with the volume profile. It can be a great tool for a lot of different things. You can use it to screen for stop loss hunts too. You can look for consolidation ranges. You can look for trends. You can look for a lot of different low volume node areas to try to find when and where is a stop loss hunt likely to occur. So if you have any questions on any of this material, if you want to learn more, then feel free to shoot me a message on Patreon or shoot me a message on Discord. Thank you for watching, and happy trading.